Oh, I have to change the layout. Then everyone will appear, I think. Yes. What happened? Hmm. So,
Can I have?
my friends, we have been talking about the four root causes of the weakness. Root causes. When these weaknesses are present in the mind, and the intellect has convinced that they are good for me, then we live in intellectual fantasy. There is an emotional fantasy. You see the dream. There is a dream, dream, and then you wake up and the dream is gone. But my friends, this intellectual fantasy does not go. It veils over all the thought, speech, and action. A beggar was begging in the street. Monk saw him, and the monk felt intuitively that there is a treasure in his home. So he has to go back and find that treasure. I don't know what is happening to Brandy is not able to join anyhow. So so the monk went to the beggar and said, "Go back home and explore that treasure that is lying inside your below your bed." Beggar said, "Don't disturb me. I'm at work at now." This is one example of intellectual fantasy. We convince ourselves that we are made for suffering. Don't disturb me. Don't teach me. When we live in that intellectual fantasy, it is very dangerous in our life. We are going deeper and deeper. Once, I'm picking up something from the Gita, and once we understand that, you simply understand and apply in your life. And you will see the life has changed completely. How many times you were upset? That is why I ask you how many times you were upset, sad, reacted since the last session. We are learning part by part. Intellectual fantasy says, I have learned everything. Are you getting it? So a teacher knows the part, he teaches the part, but he knows the whole. And we are always in a hurry to become whole without knowing the part. That causes an intellectual fantasy. We need to understand how ignorant mind works. And that is pointing to the four root weaknesses. And I give you another example of intellectual fantasy. Should I go by car or a flight? Logical question. To New Jersey. Example. Or to meet Ted. So what the intellectual fantasy does, should I go by car or should I go to New Jersey? Did you understand? This is what happens when we learn a lot. We understood the principle, but we do not apply these principles. When we do not, oh, you got it. Are you getting it? I asked you that I should I go by flight and car? Logical question. So our intellect, because it does not understand the question in the presence of these root weaknesses, so our mind creates that fantasy. Should I go by car or should I go to New Jersey? It's a wrong logic. One guy asked me, I don't want to name him or her, otherwise they get upset. Do you know dating apparatus? No, we are dating with the real self. And you are asking me, do you know the dating apparatus? So now I know your entire frame of the mind, where you are moving. You're not paying attention. This is another intellectual fantasy. So should I tell them straight away? No. No. Why no? That I will answer, and it is answered in Gita in a beautiful way. So now see that what happens about the four root weaknesses. We have a desire. What is desire? Is a memory. It is likes and dislikes. So here we are not talking of the unbinding desire. We are talking of dating apparatus. When that thought comes, I should ask myself what I'm searching for in my life. Peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. And the Eastern wisdom says there lies inside me. I need not to go outside. You can not make 1 unit of happiness with 10,000 units of pleasure. What is pleasure? Pleasure comes in contact with an object or a person or an event or a situation. It will come and go. But that memory does not leave me. So that memory creates a desire. Yesterday I was giving a lesson, private lesson, and he was telling me, I divorced and now I still talk to my ex. I'm still related to the ex. Why you left? Why you left? No. But now listen to me. He told me, she told me that she's very happy with her 2 kids and there is no problem at all. And now I'm feeling very upset. She is living happily. Why you are upset? Because she is living happily without me. That causes me the upset. Why it causes the upset? Because my ego is hurt now. And ego is the main source of these desire. First, now he got agitated. I explained to him, then he calmed down. This is another level of intellectual fantasy. I constantly live in that intellectual fantasy. This beer guy is saying what is right. Well, happiness is inside. Then what happens? After the session, I start searching the pleasure outside. I am not caring my life. Am I a little tough today? No, it's a fact. So the four root causes, and do you still remember the Narada started his journey where we all are? I gave you the story of the Narada. Do you still remember the monkey face? So when I'm searching for happiness in the name of the pleasure, no, when I'm searching pleasure, no, you're right. I'm right, I think. When I'm searching happiness in the name of the pleasure outside in object, in people, in things, I have a monkey face. My mind is totally distracted, agitated. So first, it is distracted because it is searching for a happiness outside. And because there are millions of the thoughts, there are 10,000 units of the pleasure I have experienced before cannot be equated to 1 unit of happiness. So then what happens? Agitation in the mind triggers. It triggers. What is that agitation? It may be an anger. It may be I become upset. Now look at this guy. He is upset because she is living happily. No, I thought that I must continue the communication. And with your communication, you are getting stress. Understand. Be very clear. We are losing our day to day. So the two root causes, this is what Narada experienced in his life. He reached to that state of awakening. And then he wrote the text. That is the way to explore our life. We are happiness, we are peace. It cannot be undone by anyone. It is done only by us. How? These four root unbinding first by the binding desire, second by the agitation, I get stressed. I gave you a real life example. And then the biggest problem comes in life. We know that this pleasure is not happiness, and still we go after it. Ask why. Ask yourself why. Why we go after it. I know. And that is why I open the topic of intellectual fantasy. Dream, we dream for 5 minutes or an hour, and when we wake up, the dream is gone. But this intellectual fantasy does not leave us the moment we wake up in the world. One example, I'm very busy. That's why I did not attend the session. Why? Where you are busy. You drop the intellectual fantasy and see whether you are busy or not. You are busy only to get pleasure. You are only busy to suppress the pain. I'm just mixing up the teachings of the Gita so that I'm laying a foundation. Now I have desire, which is memory, likes and dislikes, which gives me a short-term pleasure. And I gave an example, 10,000 units of pleasure cannot be equated to 1 unit of happiness. My mind is not ready to accept this. So when the mind is not ready to accept, it gives a triggering thoughts to the intellect. And then the mind takes over the intellect. Oh, it's okay. This beard guy is just simply talking about it. Oh, it's okay. I will continue to have all the pleasures in my life. I am not saying don't go for the pleasure. It's important. We learn from our experiences. But I get obsessed because of the memory, because of the likes and dislikes. That causes the hesitation. And from that hesitation, now the hesitation in the mind triggers you, triggers you. And that triggering factor causes the repeat desire. That repeat desire is known as the greed. And now you're doing the practice, and your mind is not ready to accept it. So there is a lot of confusion in the mind. So where the confusion goes, it gives you a fear. Ah, fear, fear, fear. And that fear again creates a vicious circle. You go for self-medication. So this guy, which I'm talking about, he told me that let us have a session every day. I said, no. First, get rid of the intellectual fantasy. I should have got more money. We are always mindful. I said, no. Let us have two, maximum 3 sessions in a week, but you have to contemplate. So he started contemplating and reflecting deeply. Fear, that fear factor, whether you say desire, whether you say hesitation, whether you say repeat desire, or whether you fear, they all live in the mind, constantly live in the mind. That is why I say, please listen to it. It's not that my voice is very sweet. I look like a Mr. or Mrs. Miss Universe. You have to listen to it so that these principles settles into your mind. When they do not settle into your mind, then you will start looking at dating app. I'm not telling the name of anyone who told me. No, sometimes people get upset, and they say, you have insulted me. You are insulting yourself. You are insulting the beautiful life. My friends, you are insulting your beautiful life. Because you are not using the intellect, which has a free will. I can make a choice. I can correct the mistake. So when that knowledge settles in the mind, you sit in meditation, 1 session is necessary. Now we will understand how to change that. If you do not change your behavior and attitude, you do not change your lifestyle, it will never happen. If you see that, I will sit down and close my eyes and everything will happen. And I have heard about the ostrich, when they are someone is attacking, they put their beak and their neck inside the ground so that they can save themselves. Ultimately, they are caught and killed. That is what we do. That is why the speedy change is not happening in our life. So now see that how the mind with the intellect, with the intellectual fantasy, mind with the desire, hesitation, repeat desire, and the fear works. They have to express themselves at the physical level, at the emotional level, at the intellectual level. That is how we live our life. Do you agree? It's a fact. What is inside me, it will come out, directly or indirectly. So I have to become aware what physical contribution I am doing in my life every day. You see, I'm connecting all the dots. What is physical contribution? You resolve that, you listen and practice every day. That is your physical contribution. No, no, I have understood it. I have understood knowledge is not settled, and I'm doing the same thing again and again. So the one factor is very important. The first, the physical contribution. Second is the emotional contribution to your evolution. What is that emotional contribution? Instead, your mind is thinking something else, blaming and complaining, reaction, anger, and anxiety. Let me think emotionally about my evolution or about the evolution of others. Today, I'm going to talk to my honey in a softer and gentle way. Today, let me see how can I contribute, how can I share with him or her, or with my parents, with my children. I have to think in that way, emotionally, and then you act on it. Whether you're son or kid or parents. Are you understanding that what I'm saying? That how to get rid of these four? If you simply say that I will close my eyes like an ostrich, I have a lot of fear, let me practice meditation, and the fear is not gone. Fear is not gone, it will increase. I think it is famous about the ostrich, when they are scared, they put their neck inside the ground to save themselves from the enemies. The enemies are already waiting. The moment you take your neck out, caught. That is known as dating app. It doesn't mean that you should not speak your mind, because if you do not speak your mind, I cannot help you. You should be open. Very interesting. So, physical contribution. Do you remember physical contribution, emotional contribution? So, I'm emotionally thinking, how can I share? How can I express my love and emotion to my near and the dear ones? Consciously, you are thinking. So it means when you're consciously thinking, you are not attached. When you are unconsciously thinking, you are distancing yourself. What that mean? Look at my son, he is not listening to me. I have told me him a couple of times. I know it is going into the head of those people who share their experiences. Emotional. So that is emotional contribution. And the intellectual contribution, that after listening, I have to think. Can I tell you a simple way? At least for a couple of times, for 5 or 6 times, even for 5 minutes, sit down. Watch your mind. And from the intellect, you say to yourself that I will not entertain any thoughts which has an element of likes and dislikes. And let me check what state I enter into it. You do it only for a week. And you will see a tremendous change in your life. You will see that level of your fatigue drop down by 90 or 100%. Another intellectual fantasy is that I'm awfully busy. That will drop. Why? Your mind makes you feel that you are busy. There is an emotional content into it. And that emotional content brings all the 4 root weaknesses in our life. It's a little, not complex, but it is little difficult to understand. But when you listen to it again and again, physical contribution, you don't leave the practice. Emotional contribution, you start oozing out your pure emotion. How it can happen? Only when I think. In our last session, someone asked the question of Dennis in the last session. Oh, love is different, and you talk very logically. But what about the emotion? A simple answer: where the emotion and reason lives, it lives in the mind. Or you have two minds. One compartment of the mind deals with the emotion, other deals with the logic. I think I am sad, then I recognize that emotion that I am sad. Do you see that? Let anything happens to the mind. Don't think. Don't give a thought. Will you be sad? Will you be sad? Traditional master says that daily you should do one thing that you don't like, but you must do it. You don't like a one thing, you don't want to do it, but that is the right thing to do, you must do it. The traditional way of doing it. What about the hesitation and triggering and being upset? Instantly tell the mind you are thinking, this is your way of finding the solution. There is another way also. So the ego will not force the hesitation to continue. Are you getting it? You're angry. So being angry or hesitated or that trigger comes, everyone should do it my way is the cause of my hesitation. My dad is not listening. My son is not listening. They are born because of they should listen to you. Maybe your friend, maybe your honey. So we start living in our own shell, and that impedes the growth. And the repeat desire. Repeat desire means I'm collecting, I'm accumulating. The way we accumulate wealth, to some extent, accumulating the wealth makes sense. But you want to accumulate the units of pleasure. Not possible. It cannot be converted into happiness, but it will continue to create more and more desires. Are you understanding that point difference? To a greater extent, accumulating the wealth may help you at the physical level. But I want to accumulate. That is what the repeat desire is. I have to become aware at that particular moment. Otherwise, this is going to disturb your future life if you are young. For people like us, we have already destroyed our lives. And the fear, there is only a fear of the death. I want to bring an end to the talk. That fear, because of the other three factors, comes due to the ignorance, because that desire, that hesitation or a trigger, and the third factor is the repeat desire, they superimpose themselves on my real self. The real self is fearless, but superimposition creates a false identity. I start living as a false self, and the false self that I am the body and the mind and the pleasure, and losing them is the fear of the death. So the fear continues in our life. Think, think. Now I'm already thinking about a lot of things in my life. That's why I have been busy. If thinking makes you busy, you are crazy. I'm sorry to say. And if the thinking gives you a clarity, a sense of conviction in your life, what happens? You're free. My friends, then you have to constantly follow these. I gave you a clear understanding. Physical contribution. Normally what happens, okay, I have done meditation for 2 weeks, nothing is happening. What happens to 23 hours? Because you are not contributing emotionally, you are not contributing intellectually, you are not contributing. The last one I will talk later, but I give you what happens when you do all this. Then you realize that you are not an individual entity made because of the ego. You are a part of the whole existence, and that dissolves your ego completely. And the ego is gone, you are free. That is the fourth contribution. That is where the Eastern wisdom points us to. Close your eyes, let us eyes and being comfortable. Did you find any change in the practice? It's a very subtle, but now I will make you aware. Eyes are closed, make your body adjust and align, and you are comfortable. Now you don't find too much of struggle in being comfortable and being carefree. So in the last session, I skipped these two steps, being comfortable and being carefree. If you have noticed, if you have done it regularly, you will notice it. So you're just sitting, okay. You're listening, okay. You're comfortable, okay. You are carefree, okay. That indicates the change in the mind. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. I'm skipping being comfortable and being carefree. You are already there. And that is how you progress into meditation with knowledge, with understanding. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Let everyone be happy. May there be happiness for all. And we have already understood different ways. Why I explain differently? To help your intellect to drop the fantasy. Happiness is my essential nature. It is the essential nature of every living species. Everyone is searching peace and happiness, whether they have a free intellect or not. So conclusion is what? Two types of conclusion. That anytime I have a sense of anxiety, I'm looking for the pleasure outside, I should take my mind inside. And second, if one is fighting with you, one is reacting to you, oh, he or she is not, they are not understanding that happiness is their nature. And they want to be happy by being angry, reacting, blaming, and complaining. It is not their fault. It is because of their ignorance. What happens? You become humble. Your humility pacifies the agitation of others. I believe you all are getting it. We don't understand the importance of these mantras because of the intellectual fantasy. Oh, and I understand it. I know the meaning. I can explain it. It doesn't work that way. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Let there be peace for all. Same example, same interpretation. You are thinking intellectually, bringing an emotion to yourself and living in the world outside. By thinking and acting and speaking in this way, you are getting rid of the four root weaknesses. You need to connect them. How? By understanding, by constant contemplation and reflection. If you cannot do it, if we cannot do it, I don't want to say anything. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Let there be completeness in me. Can you really imagine? And now I was talking about the intellectual fantasy. You fantasize this. You fantasize that you are complete in yourself. And the fact is that we all are complete in ourselves. This fantasism will take you to the reality. And we unnecessarily fantasize the other stuff. Are you seeing the difference between the two? Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Let there be no speciousness for all. Sometimes we have a wrong notion. They ask me, many students ask me that, do you want me to repeat this when I don't have a feeling that I'm complete in myself? You repeat it so that you will have a feeling. You have done it outside. You saw a person, emotions triggered. How you express it? Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Let there be auspiciousness for all. So we are not leaving it with that state of the mind and the clarity of the intellect that understands that the breathing helps me to purify the mind. It gets rid of those notions that contains these four weaknesses, and I can help myself. So now you have that pattern of thinking is much more than the breathing itself. And then you do the breathing. You look inside the forehead in the space. There you drop Om Shanti and you start breathing. Quick and short breath from the rib cage. Pay attention that you have an expansion and contraction of the ribs. Continue. We are doing it for 3 minutes. And let the time come, we will increase it to 6 minutes and then we will see what happens. After that, 9 minutes, no, we will leave that. Why? We have reached to that state. Continue Om Shanti. Now you also watch and experience the body continues to live in being comfortable and carefree. The breath is going on its own. There is no objection coming from the mind. And that is one of the most beautiful states. And stop it. Do you remember after stopping, you simply remain aware, you recognize any reaction, any changes, any feeling, any sensation. So that let the mind relate the breathing with the change in the experiences, in the sensation in the beginning. And any reaction, if there is no reaction at all in these three steps, intellect will say, I cannot do it for 6 minutes, but you can do it. I'm just helping you to explore the level of intellectual fantasy in it. Oh, this guy is not going to listen to me. No, it is possible. Om Shanti continues and start with the belly breathing. It's a longer breath. Expansion and contraction of the belly. Continue, my friends. Your belly is moving outside and inside, or I would say expansion of the belly and the contraction of the belly. Continue. Continue. Inhale and exhale into the belly. Om Shanti continues deep inside your head in the space. You see, intellect. Just talk about it once you complete the breathing. And now stop this. Again, what you notice, you are extraordinarily aware. You pick up the sensation you experience. You have noticed the objections and the reactions. So those reactions and the objections either comes from these four root weaknesses or come from the intellectual fantasy. So now you have a clear understanding and you want to get rid of it. So what happens? You have a will to continue. Now we have been talking about if you have a right intention. That is what is happening in our life. Keep on doing Om Shanti deep inside the forehead and the space and start breathing this time both from the belly and the rib cage. Long, deep in the hissing breath, please. Om Shanti continues, and somewhat you are aware that you are comfortable and carefree in the background. That is the most important thing to notice. And it is happening. I know, I see that. Continue. Continue long, deep in the hissing breath from the belly and the rib cage. And stop it. Do nothing. Again, when you do nothing, actually you are aware of the situation, of the experiences, of different variety of visions and the colors. Let it happen. You're a witness to it. And now in that state, start breathing this time very with extreme awareness and attention. You are breathing deep, silent, slow, both from the belly and the rib cage. First point of awareness, first point of awareness that since say being comfortable and carefree. Second point of awareness, deep, silent, and slow breathing. Third point of awareness, the moment you start inhaling, you move the mind from the top of the head, singing another point of awareness, Om Shanti. And the Shanti ends at the tailbone, your exhalation ends. As you, your inhalation. As you exhale, the breath is rising up and the mind is singing Om Shanti. And the Shanti ends at the top of the head. So when you're saying Om Shanti during inhalation, you are pacifying, you are dissolving all the four root weaknesses and the fantasy. That is why you say Shanti at the base of the spine. You're not worried about those chakras. It will happen by itself. And when you say Om while rising, what you say, you are installing Om Shanti into an ignorant mind, dissolving the superimposition. That is the entire journey of Kundalini meditation. Done differently, steps are different, but we have added the step here. The master of Kundalini meditation realizes that you do not live into that awareness, you do not want to understand. So that is why they have sometimes 7 chakras, 9 chakras, sometimes they have 13 chakras. Now leave this. Look inside the cave of your heart. Visualize the triangle in any color, equilateral triangle, pointing upward. And you already know. But just a reminder, awareness, being comfortable and carefree, awareness of calmness and peace is already there. I want to transcend the peace, to know the peace fully. That is why this step is. And with you move the mind on each side of a triangle, dropping Om Shanti casually as a play and a fun, moving the mind. And you have to discover that it is syncing perfectly, clockwise and anti clockwise. The mind is not objecting. And if that happens, then you sing Om. Now you are pushing the mind. You're about the mind. With saying Om deep inside the cave of your heart and drop Shanti. Do nothing. You see a kind of self absorption is there. Thought may be there. Who cares? Do I say you to pay attention on the thought, or do I pay attention to the practice? And when the practice is done, a kind of self absorption is there. From that absorption, the word reincarnation in different religion begins. We will talk about it. What exactly is this when we take up the teaching of the Gita? Now leave this. We'll continue with the japa, 16 segments, and start Om Shanti on the first segment. But what is the quality? Mind's eye, mind's ear, mind's touch. And that's why you feel different sensation. Om Shanti. Your dropping Om Shanti brings the sensation of the touch of the your mind becomes so soft. When it goes through the sense organs, it becomes the heart. We'll talk about that. Continue. Mm. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your Buddha palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences, and if you have any question, you're welcome to ask. How are you, Stephen?
Good. Uh, Extremely fast. Um, when you started chanting the Om Shanti there at the end, I actually had a sense of disappointment and immediately uh, discerned on that means I have desires and likes and dislikes. So drop that. I was just completely absorbed from the moment I closed my eyes. I remember struggling even getting into the first fast breathing aspect, and I just fell into a very dark, quiet space with no thoughts whatsoever until I heard you start chanting the Om Shanti. So very nice.
Beautiful, kind of a self absorption. I just pointed out that once we reach to that state of the self absorption, then we can understand what it means by reincarnation. And that we will talk. It doesn't happen outside, it happens inside. But when you are in the state of this self-absorption, it also means that intellectual fantasies has dropped down completely. Wonderful. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. The meditation went by very quickly for me as well. I think I may have fallen asleep a little bit because I was prompted by the second stage of the breathing from you. So I feel like I missed the first stage of the breathing, so I may have fallen asleep. And I've thought I'm going to try for the week, looking, paying attention to the mind and without any attention to the likes and dislikes that might be there, and see what happens. So I like
Beautiful,
that.
Jerry. That's being a seeker. Because when I apply these principles, you will start seeing the result from the day one. By these 4 steps, you are dating with the entire existence. You wake up in the morning, you date with the body, means the 5 elements. Emotionally, you have an emotional connect with the people, and including your pets also. Why not? With the nature. Then the intellectual appreciation, minus likes and dislikes. That is what the Jerry is saying. So then you will see that individual entity dissolves simply. It is not there. We try to fight the ego with the ego. Not possible. Make it sure. It is not possible. It will never happen. How are you, Brandy?
I'm good, thank you. It went by in real time for me, unlike Jerry and
Beautiful.
Stephen. Like it wasn't fast, but I've been working on kind of slowing down, so that's good. And I realized probably when we got to the triangle that the steps, if like you're in real time with the steps, you really can get to that place of self-absorption, of blankness. And so I did achieve that, which is always great. And, like the purpose of my meditation.
Beautiful. I think, all first 3 participants always, they pointed out a kind of self-absorption. Now follow these 4 steps. You can be self-absorbed by following these 4 steps at any time, even when you are active. What happens to your ego? It is not there. You expand. How are you, Dennis?
Fine, Guruji, thank you. The meditation was calm and quiet as usual. There was no struggle from the mind throughout the practice. I was there were some thoughts. I was observing them, and I noticed that this kind of observation helps to reveal what the mind wants to cling to, the objects, the thoughts that the mind tends to cling to. So it makes it easier to resolve these issues, remember and resolve these afterwards, I guess.
That's a good point. Everyone, when you're sharing your experiences, you are not helping yourself, you are helping each and every participant. There is no struggle, what he said. And then when you remember, the mind knows. Leave it. Leave it. Beautiful way. How are you, Barbara?
I'm very good, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I was having a problem with my computer in the beginning, and so I missed part of the session, but I didn't feel agitated, which shows growth for me, because ordinarily I would be agitated. And the meditation was wonderful. I felt very light and very much at peace.
Good. You see, everyone's mind perceives the same word, same practice differently. So this is another type of the growth. She rightly said that I'm not agitated. Let whatever happens in the world, let it happen. Who cares? But it doesn't mean that while crossing the road, you should be mindful. Don't misinterpret. How are you, Sam?
I think I need to get on these dating apps. Seriously.
Huh?
I think it's a good idea. I think I need to get on these dating apps.
Yes, definitely.
Um, this was the first time that I think I've gone through this whole sequence without ever feeling any resistance. Usually there's a moment or two where, I'm doing the breathing and there's a second of a pause, or during the japa I'm doing it, and then, because we get so deep by that point, there's usually a pause at some point. But this was the first time I was able to go through the whole sequence without any type of pause. So I think that shows some growth and endurance.
Growth and progress also. And you said you were totally absorbed. So you have to differentiate, or means discernment. Going to that dating app gives you 10,000 units of pleasures is not even equal to 1 unit of happiness. So once your intellectual appreciation of the journey is there, you need not to worry about the mind, what it is thinking. It will change. Wonderful. Christina, we have Christina, 2 or 3 people. Yes, more, yeah.
Thank you. A deep absorption today. And I had a question. You mentioned when you feel anxious, or maybe you're noticing the likes or dislikes, to bring the mind back. Where do you bring the mind to?
Where you bring the mind to based on your temperament. If you have an intellectual temperament, start thinking from where the anxiety has come. The root of the anxiety has to be a desire, and desire has to have a likes and dislikes. It comes from the memory. Without bringing anything from the memory in the mind, I cannot have an anxiety. So what is going to happen? That is an intellectual appreciation. That is what I talked about. The third, you can also have an emotional. Oh, my nature is peace and happiness. I have not to worry about it. But your mind is looking within. I am of the nature of peace and happiness. Or you can repeat the practice, the first one. So the 4 steps: physical sitting and doing the practice, emotional appreciation, intellectual appreciations to get rid of the intellectual fantasy. And what happens? The moment that individuality drops, there is no anxiety. I have an anxiety that I is not there now because you followed the 3 steps. What happens? Nothing happens. You're free. How are you, Terry?
I'm good. I did the whole practice.
I love everybody sharing the same experience.
Childishly proud of myself because I did the whole thing. I didn't fall asleep and I didn't struggle. I didn't do everything perfectly, but I didn't worry about it.
Beautiful.
I had a light feeling, lightness, not light, but light, not heaviness. And I have almost constant anxiety, and I experience it as a physical sensation of the thought processes of the body. Although right now it's gone, and I had a strange idea at one point. I felt like I was made of paper, like it was just
Wonderful.
thoughts outside.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was really great.
I could
And
see
also
your hands are moving so normally. You are talking normally. No one can notice that you have such a severe problem. Now, see, follow these 4 steps. Even you have done the practice, follow the emotional appreciation, intellectual appreciation, and you see that individuality, that center of the I drops. Who says I'm suffering from this disease? And then see the result. This is what happened today. And if it can happen all the time, we are done. Yes, you got it. Well, I'm so happy. Thank you, those who gave me an opportunity to talk about the dating app. So that's how I personalize each and every session. It helps me. I'm not going to reveal who did it. So, how are you, Weber?
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. Mine was free, was not chasing anything, was very calm.
Very calm. Good. That's another way to explain the self-absorption. Ashok, if you speak, you can say that. If Terry can speak, you can also. We don't hear you.
So, sir, very peace and calm, very comfortable and very good. It's very nice, sir. Meditation was very good.
Beautiful, beautiful. You are recovering very fast. I'm so happy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. How are you, Sangeeta?
सर बहुत क्विक था, बहुत जल्दी हो गया और पीसफुल है एकदम, बहुत पीसफुल।
Good.
अभी भी बात कर
Good.
रहे हैं, मन नहीं कर रहा।
Very good. Yeah, she doesn't like to talk. And you see, understand, please, I'm summarizing. The first is the physical. So physical means I'm repeating the practice. I'm listening and repeating. Second part is that emotional. What my mind is thinking all the time, unwanted thoughts, unwelcome thought, can I replace it with pure emotion? Obviously, I'm a human being. I can do that. Now, I don't want to do that. I go back to all the same old stuff. I'm repeating again, 10,000 units of pleasure experienced during the last 5 years is not equal to 1 unit of happiness. Do you agree? Then comes the intellectual appreciation. What happens? Because of the first 3 steps, you need not to fight with the ego, it melts away. And that is what majority of you, almost everyone, share, that it's a kind of total self-absorption. And it has come because of the knowledge plus the practice. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. We all are progressing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste,
Namaste.
everyone.
Thank you.